There was a moment when it seemed like nothing could touch him. Not failure, not fear, not time. He had reached a place most actors never find, a rare kind of permanence. His face was welcome in millions of homes every week. His voice carried comfort. His presence felt unshakable. And yet, the ending came not with warning, but with silence. No dramatic farewell. No final scene written in advance. Just absence. And in the days that followed, the woman who knew him best made a decision that deepened the mystery even further. She didn't step forward. She didn't explain. She didn't try to preserve his legacy in public. She disappeared from it. To understand why, you have to go back to the beginning, to a dusty Texas town, to a boy who never imagined the world would one day mourn him. A giant from the very start, Dan Blocker entered the world in a way that immediately set him apart. Born on December 10, 1928, in DeKalb, Texas, he weighed an astonishing 14 pounds at birth, a number so unusual that it became local legend. From his first breath, he was larger than life. But what people couldn't see yet was the quiet gentleness behind that size. His family soon moved to O'Donnell, Texas, a small farming town where survival depended on resilience. The Great Depression had taken nearly everything from his father, who was forced to rebuild their life by opening a modest grocery store. The family lived in cramped rooms behind it, and young Dan helped however he could. He carried groceries for customers. He stocked shelves. He learned early that strength wasn't just physical, it was about endurance. People noticed his size, of course. By his teenage years, he was already towering over adults. Locals would challenge him to friendly wrestling matches in the street, curious to test themselves against the giant kid everyone talked about. He never lost, but what mattered more wasn't that he could win. It was that he never tried to humiliate anyone in the process. Even then, kindness defined him, a strength that hid a different calling. Football seemed like his natural destiny. At the Texas Military Institute and later Sul-Ross State College, he dominated the field as a linebacker. Standing over 6 feet tall and weighing nearly 300 pounds, he was a force few could match. Some believed he could have gone professional. Even Dan himself once joked he could defeat heavyweight boxing champion Floyd Patterson if given enough training. But life rarely moves in straight lines. One afternoon, the college drama club needed someone strong enough to move heavy stage props. Dan volunteered. It seemed like a small, forgettable moment. It wasn't. Someone suggested he take a minor role in the play Arsenic and Old Lace. When he stepped onto the stage, something unexpected happened. The audience laughed. They responded. They connected. For the first time, Dan Blocker realized that his presence could do more than intimidate, it could move people emotionally. He changed his major to theater. It was the first quiet step toward immortality. War changed everything. Before Hollywood ever knew his name, war did. In 1950, he was drafted into the U.S. Army during the Korean War. He served as an infantryman, eventually rising to the rank of sergeant. Combat stripped away illusions. He saw fear in its purest form. He saw men break. He saw bravery and loss exist side by side. In one brutal encounter, his unit was ambushed behind enemy lines. Under relentless fire, Blocker held his position for hours, protecting wounded soldiers and refusing to retreat. He was wounded himself, but he survived. War hardened him, but it also deepened his empathy. It taught him that life was fragile, unpredictable, and never guaranteed. When he returned home, he carried that truth with him, and he never forgot it. A teacher before a star. After the war, he didn't chase fame. He became a teacher. He married Dolphia Parker, the woman who would remain his anchor through everything that followed. Together, they built a family. He earned a master's degree in dramatic arts and taught English and drama to high school students. He loved teaching. It gave him purpose, stability. He wasn't trying to become famous. Acting was simply something he loved, but fate was still moving quietly beneath the surface. The role that changed his life forever. Television in the late 1950s was exploding with westerns. His size made him perfect for supporting roles, and he began appearing in shows like Gunsmoke and Maverick. Then came the opportunity that would define him. The television series Bonanza was searching for someone to play Haas Cartwright, a character who needed to be physically imposing, but emotionally gentle. Dan was perfect. At first, the show struggled. Ratings were low. The network, NBC, considered canceling it entirely. But then something remarkable happened. Audiences began to connect. Not just with the action, not just with the stories. With Haas, he wasn't the typical Western hero. He wasn't cold or distant. He was awkward, honest, kind. He represented something rare, a man strong enough to be gentle, and viewers loved him for it. Soon, Bonanza became one of the most successful television shows in history, and Dan Blocker became immortal in the role, the man behind the character. The irony was that Dan Blocker was nothing like people expected. Haas Cartwright was simple, slow-speaking, and innocent. Dan was highly educated. He was thoughtful, philosophical, curious about the world. He read constantly. He cared deeply about justice, fairness, and compassion. Fame didn't change him. If anything, it made him uncomfortable. His co-stars, including Michael Landon and Lorne Greene, became close friends. They weren't just cast members, they were family. Blocker even served as best man at Landon's wedding. Their bond extended beyond the screen, because what viewers saw wasn't an act. It was him. Fame was never his goal. While others chased luxury, Dan chose simplicity. He lived in a modest home. He spent time with his children. He avoided Hollywood parties. He valued privacy above everything. Even when he appeared in films alongside legends like Frank Sinatra, he never became obsessed with status. Acting was his profession. Family was his life. That difference defined him. The escape to Switzerland. At the height of his fame, he made a decision few understood. He left, not forever, but enough to reclaim something he felt slipping away. After reading an article in National Geographic, he became fascinated with the peaceful lake regions of Europe. Eventually, he relocated his family to Lugano, in Switzerland. There, something extraordinary happened. Nobody cared who he was. He could walk down the street without being stopped. He could sit in cafes without interruption. For the first time in years, he was simply a man again. Not a symbol, not a character, just a husband, a father, just Dan. The illusion of permanence. By 1972, his life seemed complete. He had success. He had family. He had peace. There was no reason to believe it would end. When doctors told him he needed routine gallbladder surgery, no one panicked. It was common. Safe. He underwent the procedure without concern. It appeared successful. He returned home. Everything seemed fine. Until it wasn't. Hours later, he collapsed. A pulmonary embolism, a blood clot, had traveled to his lungs. It killed him. Instantly. He was only 43 years old. The shock that stopped everything. The news spread quickly. Fans didn't believe it. How could someone so strong simply vanish? To millions, Haas Cartwright wasn't just a character. He was permanent. His death shattered that illusion. His co-stars were devastated. His children lost their father. His wife lost the center of her world. But what happened next surprised everyone. The woman who chose silence. Dolphia Parker had a choice. She could have spoken publicly. She could have given interviews. She could have kept his memory alive through media appearances. She chose none of it. She withdrew completely. She focused on her children. She protected their privacy. She never remarried. She never chased attention. She honored him not through words, but through silence. Because she understood something few others did. He had never wanted fame. He had wanted peace. So she gave it to him, even in death. The legacy he left behind. Today, decades later, his presence remains. Not just in reruns, not just in history, but in memory. Dan Blocker represented something timeless. Strength without cruelty. Fame without arrogance. Power without ego. He showed the world that kindness was not weakness. It was courage. And perhaps that's why his loss still feels personal. Because men like him don't come often. Men who could have chased everything and instead chose what mattered most: family, privacy, love. In the end, his story wasn't about fame. It was about humanity and the quiet truth that even giants are only here for a while, but the kindness they leave behind lasts forever.